Saturday Social, brought to you by EA Sports FC with PlayStation 5.
A bad week for United, wasn't it? Lost 3-0 at home to Bournemouth, and then, of course, out of the Champions League with a home loss against Bayern Munich. Yes, before we get into the feature, just want to get your thoughts on everything that's happening at Man United this season, because you're a big United fan, as we know.
Where do you start, man? Honestly, I don't think anyone could have predicted how bad the season would be for United. Even the biggest hater of United would say that, right? The signings that we made, how, I would say, well we did last season, even though the tail end was kind of a bit difficult. The expectation was they would improve as more money was spent, as some players we believed were problematic would be out the door. But this season has just been a disaster. Honestly, injuries, first of all, more than anything. But the signings haven't worked out how we all expected they would. I think Erik ten Hag has really struggled getting his ideas across. The way we're playing isn't the way we all expected to. So this season, man, it's really been a disappointing one.
Yeah, well, it gave us an idea, didn't it, Joe? Obviously, about Man United. It's one that we've done quite a few times in previous seasons.
This is the 5th time we've done it. 5 seasons, isn't it? Never works either. Never works. But the whiteboard is out. 5-1 is up there because today we are going to be getting the guys' thoughts on 5 players United should sign in January to save the season. It's not the first time we do it, and probably not going to be the last time we do it either. 5 is going to be the least important. 1 is going to be the most important signing you guys think United could make in January. Should we start at 5? Who have you got at 5? Let's pick up both of your names and show the cameras.
And interestingly here, we've got a Man United fan, so from the heart, and then we've got a neutral as well. So
can I just say this
how they match up?
Picking only 5 players was the most difficult part of this challenge. I would have picked 11 if I could.
Is this a big part of what United needs to do, though? It is signings, or is there a lot else that...
I mean, I think the biggest issue any United fan will tell you is the board. The board and the ownership has to change. But that also comes down and stems into recruitment, which under Ten Hag, I think has been pretty poor, to be honest.
OK, let's see you've got as 5 then.
Number 5. You've got Fresneda.
I've got my first one is Rafinha from Barcelona.
OK, talk to us about Rafinha. Why him?
I've actually got another right winger, but Rafinha's the backup. For me, he hasn't been playing much for Barcelona. It hasn't worked out perfectly what he wanted. He was going to Barcelona to be the main man himself, but you can't do that with Frankie, Pedri, Liwa, and so many good players. I think he wants to have a profile where he go back to the same way he was at Leeds, the main person, and under United, where they've got no attacking threat, he could be that person.
How effective would he be in this United system, do you think?
And that's why I've got someone else over him. That's why he's the 5th. Okay. But I think at the budget where he's at, Barcelona don't really need him at that much. I think it could be a good signing for him.
I think this is the sort of signing as well. There could be some business done in terms of swap deals. You know, United have got players that are also potentially.
I don't think you guys have got any players at Barcelona.
You don't think maybe a Jadon Sancho Rafinha swap deal? You don't think Barcelona would be interested in a Jadon Sancho? Yeah. Out in the cold at Manchester United right now, fantastic player as well. You've gone for Fresneda.
Yeah.
Who only joined his current club 3 months ago.
I know.
And has an 80 million euro release.
I was about to say 80 million release clause.
Let me just say this about United. I'm going to preface this before I go to any of my picks.
Go on.
I think the biggest issue of this United team is we all know the technical levels are poor, honestly. But I look at the physical levels as well, and I think there's a severe lack of athleticism in this team. I think they get bullied by a lot of the big teams in this league, Newcastle, City, Arsenal even these days. The first signing I would go for is Fresneda because I think the right-back position has been one that we've gone back and forth with Dalot and Wan-Bissaka. Yeah. And United fans, I think we have to just be honest, neither of them are good enough to start for this club. Wan-Bissaka will always have his offensive woes going forward. And I think even defensively, although he's a great 1v1 defender, there are question marks about him. And Dalot, I think, is just all right at everything, and maybe even a little worse than all right at some attributes. Fresneda is young. He has just joined Sporting. He has actually had a lot of injury problems this season. But when you talk about a top athlete, very good defensively, can also play that inverted role, can overlap. I just look at him as like, this is a guy the next few years we'll be talking about as one of the best right-back prospects
Faysal
in
is
football.
Eager to get in here because you're not agreeing with this.
Go ahead.
I mean, that's the reason why. I watched him last season. There's a reason why Arsenal never pulled the trigger on him. Madrid never pulled the trigger. Barcelona never pulled the trigger. Dortmund as well, and Bayern as well. You said defensively. Defensively, it's not as good as what people seem like.
Didn't he not lock down Vinny last season? He had a good performance against Real Madrid last season.
You're telling me one game is going to give me determine whether he's a good right back. That's the reason why the big clubs never went after him last season, and Sporting decided to go after him. Release clause, 80 mil. It's been there for 3 months. Come on, man.
Let's get him up, though. Let's put both your names up on the board next to number 5, so we can...
OK, so that is your 5th. As I said, it's in reverse order, so they now become more and more important. Number 4, Lyes, let's start with you.
Yes.
Just reveal the magnet to the camera who you gone with. Fofana.
I've gone with Fofana. This was one that I kind of went back and forth with because I looked at Zubimendi as well at Real Sociedad, who's having a top season. But I wanted to keep this a bit more realistic. Now, of course, I went for an £80 million release clause. So how realistic am I being? Maybe not too much. But Fofana, I think, is a really good player. And I think also when you think about the possibility of United signing a guy like this, I don't think he's going to be someone that you break the bank for. But I also think he's actually a safe option. He can play the 6, he can play the 8. Again, when I think about United's issues in midfield, a lack of ball carriers, a lack of real physicality in there, I think he would provide that, as well as just being a really good passer, really technically clean. Physically, I just think he's imposing, and good age as well too. All the players that I've picked are around the same age group that can kind of grow with this current United project. Yeah.
Do you agree with that pick or not?
No, it's a good pick. I've got someone better, which I feel like can do a better role moving forward in that midfield role. But with my 4th pick, I'm going with Miguel Gutierrez.
Okay.
The reason why I went with him is more about the left-back position. You mentioned Dalot and Wan-Bissaka and having to improve. I feel like United, they're too focused on improving the right-hand side. I think they're neglecting that left-hand side, because I don't think Luke Shaw should be the starting left-back moving forward.
Really?
He's been I know that he has had fitness issues.
I was going to say, of all the issues that you both have identified with Man United, I wouldn't have thought that left-back position was one of the main ones.
That's what people, they like to just not concentrate on. He's a liability.
Who, Luke Shaw?
Luke Shaw is a liability. He's been there for how long?
You really believe that, honestly?
He's been there for how long? 9, 10 seasons. He's only had two good seasons. He's got more
lucky with injuries, to be fair.
He's got more injuries than assists, and he's supposed to be your main creative outlet.
But when he's fit, we can all see Luke Shaw is a very good player.
He's a very good player.
But that's my problem. When he's fit, United always said when Paul Pogba's fit on his day. Luke Shaw on his day is what? Twice a year, 3 times a year. So that's why if you're relying on someone injury-prone as Luke Shaw, it's not going to be the reason for you. That's why this season we've seen it. Last season he's been injured. That's why I'm hit this guy I know him quite well in Madrid. He's now with Girona, doing incredible breakthrough season at Girona.
Top of La Liga, Girona.
Top of La Liga, which is unheard of. I mean,
the Leicester season. 10,000 to 1 at the start of the season.
I think it's a Leicester-esque accomplishment if they get that done.
Yeah, the 10,000 to 1.
Give it too much time, they'll start dropping. He's a very, very great talent, and I think...
All right, stick them both up then.
Stick them both up. So there's your 4s. Let's move on to your 3s.
What's interesting is a lot of different positions. So it's sort of, you're both saying that United need to strengthen in many positions. So what I'm intrigued to know by is the positions of your next players. Let's reveal who you got to the camera.
Bakayoko.
So right winger again.
Right winger again. Now this is a must. That's why I put him 5th. This guy is a must. Quick, fast, tricky. You've seen what City's got now with Doku. This guy is literally similar. In terms of directness, United, I mean, you guys can vouch for that. You guys lack direct wingers. You guys have got Sancho, Anthony, who is far from direct. Garnacho, you can see it there and there, but this guy can give it to you on a consistent basis. Averages over 4 dribbles per game, key passes, over 9 assists. What City's got in Doku, this guy will give you that.
Player out of the Dutch league, so...
Played well against Arsenal, didn't he, as well? Only 20 years of age as well. It's interesting to see what his ceiling is, because he's still such a young player.
Exactly.
Bakayoko I almost went with. Honestly, he was in my original list, and I actually went for someone else, but I think it's a great
joined
pick.
Brentford in the summer, didn't it?
Really good player, and he's looked...
Was he in your original list because then you found out Faysal had him, and you like to disagree with him a lot, don't you, on your side?
No comment. I've gone for Ousmane Diomande, another player as well from Sporting. Again, I look at United's issues this season, and... When I kind of made this list, I was looking, who are the players in this current United team that I'd be happy to move on with? Like, they are a key part of my team. Lisandro Martinez, for me, is one of those guys that you want to build around. But I think next to Lisandro Martinez, you look at the top center backs in the Premier League, whether it's Saliba, Van Dijk, Ruben Diaz, even Gabriel has kind of grown into that role.
Shout out Van de Ven before we go into
Absolutely. Van de Ven is a great example as well, too. What do they all have in common? Big, imposing leaders in the back. I think that's a huge criteria for the top center backs. And I think he provides that. And a monster athlete, but also on the ball, very good at bringing it forward, very good at splitting the lines. I think he's like the next modern day prototype.
Is he realistic? Because he's also got an 80 million euro release
Look,
clause.
Man, United has to spend money here, man. 80 million for United. That's spend 100 on Anthony. I'd rather spend it on this guy.
Okay, so stick those up at 3, because I know that
number
Faysal
2
actually has...
Yeah, I've got...
That's a miracle. We agreed on
agreement.
Wow.
Well, a semi-agreement, because you've gone even higher.
And don't forget, this is in order. So these are now your top 2 picks. So these are key players for United.
You think a centre-back ahead of a right winger?
This guy, for me, should be a must. He is a Royce defender. Like, he's quick, personable. His understanding of the ball is the most underrated part of his game. Liverpool did it. You mentioned his release clause of 80 million. Liverpool did it when they bought Van Dijk, and people start raising question marks of you spending that much of it. But when you do that, that means he's that good, and he is literally the next future good centre back.
Okay, you both agree on him. First agreement, I think.
But you've got
I've gone with Michael Lyes. Yeah.
You think a right winger is more important than a centre back, and you think a centre back's more important than a right winger?
Absolutely, because
they go hand in hand. To be honest with you, we need a lot of stuff, man. We need open heart surgery. But Lyes, right? I look at the right hand side of United, right? And I'm sure the United fans look at this. Oh, we just spent 80 million or 100 million on Anthony, Sancho, Palestri. Guys, Anthony needs to be shipped back to Holland tomorrow. Today even.
Saudi Arabia,
United needs to move on from that position. That is one of the biggest blunders that they've made. Just in terms of, like, forget about the money they spent. He's not good enough for this club. Lyes, this is quality represented at that position in terms of chance creation, in terms of taking on your man, in terms of giving you a bit of unexpected X factor. This is one of the top right wingers in the league, in my opinion. And you're going to see him, if he doesn't go to United, go to a Chelsea, go to a City.
Chelsea
perhaps
with him, weren't they?
Chelsea agreed a fee, didn't they?
Yeah, and then
the release clause, and then he signed the new contract.
He's a player that's going to go to a club of that level, and then only then are we going to start rightfully kind of recognizing him as one of the top right-wing.
What I'm noticing with your picks, Lyes, you had Fresneda, who signed a new contract in August. Diamande signed one in January, and Lyes signed one a month ago.
They should have hired.
In terms of sporting director, I'm not sure about your timing.
6 months ago. There you go. I would have gotten them over the line.
All right, let's get.
You're the one available on a free. Nah, give me the one with the 80 million release clause.
Wait a bit.
Right, so now we're at number one. So just this is the most important signing of any player that you think Man United should make. Let's reveal them. Who you've gone with?
Zubimendi.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
This should be an absolute must for United. And we've seen it. He's, first of all, 24 years old. People like to compare him to Busquets. For me, I see a bit more Frankie in him because the burst of speed from the when he progresses the ball is top notch. We've seen United this season trying it. Onana looking helplessly, like where is the person dropping deep? Mino did it a couple of times, but he's still young. This guy is the perfect description of someone that can progress the ball. Defensively, elite. Going forward, he chipped him with 3 goals already in La Liga. He's got a release clause, not 8 mil, 53 mil. So for me, which is an absolute bargain, 53 million for this guy should be peanuts. So United, if you're listening, to me right this second, this should be your next future defensive.
So you think that position, DM, most vital, whereas you think another 10, a second striker.
But, no, hold on. First of all, reducing Florian Wirtz to second striker for me is.
So where does he play in that United?
But he can. I'm putting him in midfield. I'm not putting him obviously like next to Fofana in my team.
Mid, right?
Yeah. I'm putting him in a midfield 3.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Bruno.
Everybody wants to talk about United needs to move on from these players, and it's the same players that let down every manager. But then when you start bringing up the names of Luke Shaw, Rashford, Bruno, the players that have been here for 2-3 managers, that's when it starts getting uncomfortable.
You would get rid of Bruno.
I'm not saying sell Bruno, but in terms of does he need to be the first name on the team sheet? Does he need to be the number 1 guy that we rely on for chances?
He's the captain of the club at the moment, though.
Is that the right decision? That's another question. But I think United desperately. I think there's question marks over his petulancy in big games in particular and rising in those kinds of moments. But regardless, I think United needs another creative force in that midfield. Forget about Højlund not scoring chances or whatever. The guy doesn't get chances. Florian Wirtz's creative numbers this season are unbelievable. Chips in with a few goals. Actually quite industrious, both on and off the ball as well, too. And one thing that United severely lacks, you can talk about Bruno, how many big chances he creates and goals he scores. The guy can't carry the ball. And when you pair him up against the likes of Musiala, Maddison, Kevin De Bruyne, that's always a glaring flaw in his game. Florian Wirtz doesn't have that flaw. And I think he's the top-end talent that would transform this United team to another level.
Okay, stick him up then. Interesting.
I love the Zubimendi shot, though.
A lot of disagreement there, but there is confirmation. We can have a look at it of the 5 signings Man United must make to turn their fortunes around in January. Enjoyed that, Joe. A lot of disagreement, though,
really
but
good.
Interesting to see.
I love the Zubimendi shout.
Yeah, interesting to see if any of them do come to fruition. Okay.
They won't. Spoiler, they don't.
They don't.